Meteorologist Amanda Pappas here with the latest on Hurricane Milton. We now have that brand new advisory from the National Hurricane Center. As of 11 a.m., the system has now strengthened to a Category 4 hurricane, and the latest advisory showing us that we have those wind speeds right now sustained at 155 miles per hour. Here's the key takeaway. The latest in the cone is showing us that we have that potential for a quick shot at seeing this strengthen to Category 5 as it's sitting over the open Gulf warm waters. I told you guys this previously. So we see this pressure is dropping rapidly at 933 millibars right now. That means that it's going to continue to strengthen. Our latest cone, again, showing that by later today, we could have a Category 5 Hurricane Milton in the Gulf of Mexico. Nonetheless, here's the one thing I want you to focus in on is that Cat 3 strength by the time it makes landfall. So that landfall timing, we could see it's going to be late Wednesday into early Thursday is when we'll see the landfall of Hurricane Milton. And when it tries to make that landfall, as it approaches the Florida Peninsula, it's going to interact with a lot of what we call wind shear, right? So the wind shear, tropical systems do not like it. It weakens any tropical system. So that's good news for us. So as we head into that landfall time frame, that's when we'll see that the wind shear will help to weaken this system rapidly back down to a Cat 3 before making that landfall along the west coast of Florida. Hurricane Milton, if you are just tuning in, what you need to know, winds sustained at 155 miles per hour, pressure at 933 millibars. It's still all the way out here in the western portion of the Gulf of Mexico, but moving eastward at 9 miles per hour. Now it's moving pretty slow. The slower it moves, the more time that it allows itself to grow, strengthen, and also reorganize, right? So we want to make sure that you are aware that we have storm surge watches that are in place now. With that being said, what could Tampa Bay face? Well, 8 to 12 feet is going to be that magic number there. And we know that storm surge is the most deadly part of any tropical system. So here we are. This is a great tool to use to be able to know exactly if you need to evacuate or the potential surge your area in particular could see. So we could see that storm surge up to 12 feet in closer portions of that Air Force Base, Oldsmar as well, right along I-275 into the Gandy right here near the station. We'll be evacuating here shortly because we are in that evacuation zone A. In addition to that, over towards Davis Islands, other areas, right, we can see for Hillsborough County, they definitely are going to see some of that surge up to 12 feet. Look at a closer view. Gibsonton, Davis Islands, you have up to 12 feet of surge possible at this point. So these numbers could change as we head into the next couple of hours because it's going to depend on where that system tracks. The farther north it tracks, the more storm surge we could see. So please stay tuned for myself, the rest of my updates, both online and also on cam as well. And also please stay tuned to Mike Prangley at noon. He's going to be coming up 10 Tampa Bay Plus, and our app is all going to go ahead and show you exactly what you need to do to prepare. And also our chief meteorologist Bobby Duskins will get you ready tonight along with Colleen Campbell. But we do see that potential surge here as well. So that's something to keep in mind, folks. And then moving over towards Oldsmar, West Chase, we know these areas were hit hard already by Helene. Please get ready for another round of that storm surge potentially heading into the next couple of hours. So what else we need to focus in on over towards Jasmine Estates, Newport Richey. If you're right along the coast, we could see up to 12 feet, even up to 9 feet in some of these areas. So please just make those necessary arrangements and evacuate if you have been told to do so. You want to listen. You want to take this seriously. You still have time to evacuate up until tomorrow, realistically. Number two, you have plenty of time to get things together with your kit today. Everything's nice and normal, thankfully. But you can see these areas could be really impacted by that storm surge. Even down towards Sarasota, Gulf Gate Estates, Venice, we see those areas could be hard hit by that surge, along with Port Charlotte, Placida. These areas were previously hit in 2022 by Hurricane Ian. So that is why I'm stressing to you, overall, storm surge is going to be an issue for the west coast of Florida, from Tampa Bay down to Southwest Florida. Take a look at where the models are at. Now, as we see this system continue to develop, heading into tomorrow morning, we're going to get much better model data and agreement. So the hurricane hunters have been flying in and out of this system. They gave us that Category 4 strength not too long ago. And in addition to that, do have it intensifying. It's a very interesting system, unfortunately, to watch unfolding out there in the Gulf. But since we have extremely warm sea surface temperatures, that's going to allow for this system to really intensify and strengthen. However, the track is still up for grabs. So that is the point that I'm trying to make here, guys. You see the green, right? Those green lines are the European model. So the European actually has it staying farther to our south. So if that were to come to fruition, that's a good thing. We want to root for the Euro right now because that would mean less storm surge for us and less maximized impacts. We're still going to feel impacts. This is still going to be potentially direct hit for Tampa Bay. So with that in mind, that brings me to the other model in white, the American model. So this American model right here showing us more of that northward track. This, if it were to come to fruition, would mean much more storm surge for us. We don't want to be on the right side of the eye, right, of the storm, because just to the south of this eye, that's where the worst storm surge will be, as those winds will push up and act like a bulldozer and pile up that water against the coast, those winds out of the southwest. We know that tropical systems move counterclockwise, right? So that's the problem. You don't want to be on the right side of this storm. So the farther south it tracks, the better off we are. And you'll see those storm surge levels and numbers go down the farther south this tracks. However, the farther north, the bigger of an impact. But you can see they're getting into better agreement. They're getting into alignment here, but we have to be ready for a major hurricane to make landfall on Wednesday. Our future radar showing it passing by the Yucatan Peninsula. As it does so, this is on Wednesday, 3 a.m. It's going to grow, it's going to expand this system because it's going to rapidly intensify, potentially be a Cat 5, and we can see that as it's approaching the state of Florida, it interacts with some wind shear. So that's a great thing because it'll help to lessen some of these impacts. However, we already are going to feel impacts from those outermost feeder bands late into Tuesday night, early into Wednesday morning, already feeling the impacts. And in some of these feeder bands that you see right here, that's where our isolated tornado threat comes about. That's going to last all day Wednesday and into early Thursday. We're going to see the eye wall, the worst part of the system, be right over our area heading into early Thursday morning as well. And we see the slower this system basically moves in the Gulf, then those times will shift in terms of the landfall, right? So the slower it moves, we push back the timing of the landfall. So I really do anticipate that landfall maybe a little later, around 1 a.m. on Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But thank God for wind shear. Look at this. We see that the system interacts with all that deep dark blue. That's a good thing. It helps to weaken it as it tries to make landfall somewhere along the west coast of Florida. Now it's going to continue to really try to rapidly intensify before reaching all of that wind shear. So here's what you need to know. Today, a normal day. We're good to go. Everything's going to be okay as long as you prepare. We don't want you to panic, but prepare. Now it's the time to do that. The impacts are really going to be felt late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and that landfall will be late Wednesday into early Thursday morning, those overnight hours. So it may be dark outside, which is a problem with these tropical systems. The tropical storm and hurricane force winds are going to be the major impact, along with storm surge, rain. We know this. We see isolated tornadoes are possible in those bands of rain and wind. It's another thing, but remember, the highest surge is going to be just south of the eye of the storm. Need to stock up on supplies. Finish your preps to your house today. And remember this, tomorrow is going to be the last day that you want to wait to evacuate. And we know either way, even if we don't get a ton of surge, we still have a major flood risk from freshwater flooding too. Flash flooding is possible all across our Bay Area. Take a look. Here's the other threat, the isolated tornadoes. You can see that threat goes up tomorrow and also for portions of Thursday as well. So heading into Wednesday and Thursday, we do have that risk for isolated tornadoes with those bands of rain and wind. So here's the major question I keep getting all over social media. Should I evacuate? Me and Mike Prangley put this graphic together to show you guys exactly what you should be doing. Should you evacuate? Well, if you are west of I-75 along the coast, I think it would be a very good idea to evacuate. I'm not talking about fly all the way to Georgia, New York City, or even the East Coast, or even Lakeland. I mean, realistically, you can move tens of miles inland. I'm talking 10 to 15 miles east over towards Brandon, right? You want to move over that way towards our inland zones. Lakeland, not a bad idea, but I don't mean that you have to go all the way to the East Coast. However, you want to evacuate if you're along the coast or in that flood prone area. So things to do today, you want to gas up, you want to check out your hurricane kit, charge your devices because we know there's going to be power outages, and stay tuned to 10 Tampa Bay on TV, and of course download our app for all things that you need to know. And we're going to continue to keep you informed, prepared, connected, and most of all calm and safe.